our first story, women groups in the northern region have appealed to government to, as a matter of urgency, pass the Affirmative Action Bill into law. The women who marched through some principal streets of the capital, Tamale, said the bill, when passed, would address peculiar issues with access to land, business, credit and home care in policy decision-making. In June 2016, the bill received cabinet assent and has since been tabled before Parliament, awaiting passage. Correspondent Hashmin Mohammed was at the march and has come through with this report.
The women marched through some principal streets of Tamale amidst drumming and dancing. They held placards with messages on the need to pass the Affirmative Action Bill. They finally converged at the Northern Regional Coordinating Council, where they presented their petition to the Northern Regional Minister, Salifu Said, for onward submission to the President. They stated, among other concerns, that though women constitute 50% of the population of Ghana, they are underrepresented in decision-making in all the important sectors of the economy, including the agricultural sector. Madam Awulatu Yusuf read the petition.
Recognizing the fact that women are largely disadvantaged and marginalized in Ghana in terms of voice, visibilities, and social recognition. 2, affirming that women have peculiar issue with access to land, business credits, home care, and space in policy decision-making at all levels of constraint on time due to their workloads.
Northern Regional Minister Salifu Said, who received the petition on behalf of the President, said government is committed to the welfare of women and their concerns will be addressed by the President.
Let me reassure you that His Excellency, we all know when they are talking about the legal brains in this country, he's first among equals. So therefore, he understands the angle from which you are coming. He appreciates your call, and he will also see what he can do so that this call will become a reality.
The Affirmative Action Bill, when passed into law, would provide legally mandated systems and policies to ensure women's equal participation.
Well, so women continue to shine at the various workplaces in spite of the challenges they are confronted with on a daily basis. Most of these women juggle work with family responsibilities, which leave most of them overwhelmed. One of such women is 38-year-old Abigail Dako, who works at an accounting firm in Accra. Abigail is a nursing mother who carries her 10-month-old baby to work every day. Ifa Evans Chinnery caught up with her at her office in Accra.
Tell us about how you do this, carrying your baby at your back to work every day.
Yes, every day. Most of the time, I do this when my mom is not around. I have her, she comes in and go, and I don't have a house help, so I do this most often.
Where do you live?
I live in Kasua.
What time do you get to work and what time do you get off work?
Okay, I'm supposed to be at work at 8. So roughly between 8:30, I should be here. So I have to leave home as early as 5:15, 5:30, I should be off from home. Because of where I live and where I work, there is traffic, so I have to set off early so that I will be able to make the time.
And how long have you been doing this? Don't you get overwhelmed sometimes?
I do, but you have no option. You have to work and you have to take care of the kids as well. So you just have to get more energy and then roll on, yeah.
How many children do you have?
I have 5.
Okay, and your last child is how old?
She's 10 months old, and the eldest is 11 years old.
And you have the support of your husband. Doesn't your husband complain? So how does he take all this?
He doesn't complain. Actually, he supports me a lot because for him, bringing food to the table too matters a lot. And if he's going to carry all on his shoulders, you know, there wouldn't be peace. So at least I just have to manage, and sometimes he supports me. Yeah.
You must also have an understanding boss, because most bosses won't allow this.
Yes, for that one is very true. I have a very great boss, because this wouldn't be possible if he doesn't allow it. Yes, and he understands every situation. Whatever you get into at a point, you only have to explain to him or tell him. When you do, he's always there for you.
Meanwhile, Amnesty International is calling for extended maternity leave for pregnant women. According to the rights body, women should be given at least 6 months away from work to stay with their newborns. During a panel discussion earlier on Thursday, some gender advocates agreed the call might not be laudable.
There is currently the Maternity Protection Convention 2000, the ILO Convention number 183, that seeks to empower women, especially pregnant women and nursing mothers. Out of this, Ghana has gone a long way. As we speak, we have the Maternity Protection Bill that has gone through Cabinet. It's been approved. So we will lay it before Parliament, and we will get...
Shall we know what's in it that's different from what we already know?
What in it is different? The Convention 183 is advocating a minimum of 14 weeks as maternity leave, 14 weeks. Currently, we are running a 12 weeks maternity.
We're adding 2 more weeks?
Well, that is what the 183 is advocating. And Ghana, in the new bill that we are seeking to introduce, at least we've gone with the minimum, so that at least we give chances. If you also look at Section 55 of our Labor Act, we've really empowered nursing mothers and women. And to the extent that if even you give birth to twins, and most women don't even know this, you give birth to 2 or more children, you are entitled to more days of maternity leave. I'm not sure some of you know these things, but that is it. It is in our law. And because, you know, most people don't know what is in the law, they live with the status quo. Indeed, Hosea 4 verse 6, Bible says, for lack of knowledge, you are perishing. So it is important that for Section 55 alone of the Labor Act, all women, and Gifty, take that upon yourself. And on your program at Joy, educate the women to know their rights, especially when they are pregnant, or when they even 2, 3, 4 months, when they realize they are pregnant, and they get certification from even a midwife. Your employer must adhere to some of these things that are part of the law. So we are seeking to do this. The other one is the domestic worker bill.
Sorry to budget, but before you go on, how soon or how quickly is this new law supposed to, you know, be implemented?
I may not be able to give you exact time. We hope to ensure that within the life of this Parliament, this comes to pass. Some of these things that bother women. Let me be frank with you. We have a Parliament that is very male-dominated. You know, so some of the, like the spousal bills and all, when they come, it depends on the eye that looks, you know, at it. But hopefully, even the affirmative action bill, I was invited when they were doing the drafting stages. It's not easy. You look at some of the things in there, you reflect on it, and if there's a committee looking at it and we are 20, about 12 are men. You know.
You're watching Joy News Prime with me and MP for not die. Joycelyn Tete. Now, Joycelyn, you heard the call or the proposal, to extend the maternity leave by 3 more months to 6 months. What do you make of this, especially since you saw earlier the plight of the young woman who's compelled to take a child to work?
I think it's very important for the government to take it up. 3 months to me is not enough. To leave a 3-month-old baby at home, and the medical persons always advise that we do extensive 6 months breastfeeding. So sometimes I wonder how they come back home to do the extra 3 months. So I think it's very important that government reconsiders this decision.
So what are you going to do in your capacity as a member of parliament to ensure that government, makes this come to pass?
Okay. Fortunately, I'm even on the gender committee, right. And then I'm going to raise it in one of our committees and then see how we come together to present it on the floor to the speaker.
All right, great. We're moving on with our stories. And centuries ago, the medical profession was male-dominated. That seems to have changed, and research suggests female doctors have more empathy, making them probably better at healthcare delivery than their male counterparts. As the world celebrates women, Gifty Ando-Apia tells the story of a female doctor who goes out of her way to solicit funds to save the lives of children living with cancer and those whose parents cannot afford health care. More in this report.
On a daily basis, outpatients cases are dealt with here at the Holy Family Hospital in Techiman. The hospital finds itself at the crossroads on a daily basis, serving Ashanti, Northern and the Bunahafo regions. Dr. Jacqueline Ezibe has just finished administering a monthly unusual dose to a university student with cerebral palsy. She has been taking care of the 21-year-old since he was only a baby. That is what she does. The only pediatrician at Techiman's major hospital would have attended to about 100 outpatients and 15 inpatients by close of day today.
One of the major problems for me as a pediatrician working in the district hospital is financial constraints on the part of the parents.
Illiteracy and poverty breed a cycle of malnutrition and teenage pregnancy here in Techiman. So has it increased prevalence of children living with cancer. Dr. Esibe and her team stand for 2 causes: keeping cancerous children of poor parents alive and campaigning to reduce teenage pregnancies.
Most children would come, the parents are not there, the mothers cannot afford, so these children are sick and need to be seen. We have boxes that we put at the filling station, the shops, the hotels, the people, and then we have pictures of patients that we've treated so that people look at it and then they donate into the boxes. We go and get them. And then during the year we have a lot of programs where we send letters of sponsorship.
Without this intervention, about 30 children could have either died or continued living with cancer. Here are living examples. Dr. Sibe has come for a daily review here at the neonatal intensive care unit of the Holy Family Hospital. Like many hospitals, incubators here are shared. 6 out of these 8 incubators were donated, and only 1 manual ventilator is available.
So then we have to go on manually, and 1 person cannot be here. The best you can be is 30 minutes. Okay. Then you have to change over. But you don't have enough staff to be changing every 30 minutes for how many hours? And the more you ventilate and the more the baby is not responding, what is happening is that not much oxygen is going to the brain. Okay. So the brain is being damaged. Hypoxia, the brain is being damaged. And if even the baby makes it, you have long-term problems like cerebral palsy that we see.
Mothers sit by shared incubators, clinging on to faith that their babies survive and without infections from the other babies. One of the hopeful mothers here, her 6-month-old baby, delivered through a cesarean section, has survived 3 weeks outside the womb so far. Unlike Ajwa Comfort's baby, this set of twins are a few weeks old. But Dr. Esibe is optimistic of their survival. She says they have seen worse. Worldwide, about 50 million children are born premature yearly. But here in Techiman, Dr. Esibe believes teenage pregnancy is the major cause of such preterm babies. With limited incubators, they have introduced a relatively new intervention, the kangaroo mother care.
It keeps the babies warm, the mother's heat is transferred to the baby. And this one is inexpensive, you don't need anything. You just need a willing mother and clothing to tie. So it's as compared to incubator, it consumes lots of electricity. Now this one is inexpensive. It's shown through research to prevent infection. While the baby born to the mother, he picks some bacteria from the mother's body that protects the baby. The baby is there, the mother's chest is breathing and touching the baby, stimulates the baby to breathe all the time.
The kangaroo mother care works similarly to incubators, but cannot completely replace the baby life-preserving machines. As of 2013, 105,000 people lived in Techiman. The figure must have doubled. They all depend on this hospital. The pressure on health officials and facilities here is imaginable. It's worse in the absence of an effective health insurance system.
The beginning of health insurance was so amazing. We discharge a patient, he takes his bag, he goes. It was
such a relief.
I mean,
that for you as a doctor, it even helps you to feel better.
It was so easy. We discharge you, we do the paperwork. In a few minutes, they are going home happy. I was part of it. I felt that excitement as compared to now. The system is really slow.
You're still watching Joy News Prime. I'm here with the Member of Parliament for the North Dai, Jocelyn Tete. That can be quite tricky. But we're taking a short break now. But still to come, Speaker of Parliament directs Gender Committee to expedite work towards passage of Affirmative Action Bill as hundreds of women march in the northern regional capital, Tamale, to demand action on the bill. We'll also bring you the story of we brought you a story of that already, but Chairman of Parliament Select Committee on Gender is advocating that men who are assaulted by their spouses turn the other cheek instead of hitting back.
If the woman slaps you on one cheek, like the Bible said, you turn the other cheek for her.
Details when we return. You're welcome back. We go back to our earlier story where women in the north are piling pressure on government to, as a matter of urgency, pass the Affirmative Action Bill. Well, it appears the legislative heard the appeal by the women in the north. Earlier on Thursday, Speaker of Parliament, Professor Michael Quay, directed the Gender Committee of Parliament to follow up and ensure that government lays the Affirmative Action Bill for the consideration of the House. He issued the directive as Parliament joined the rest of the country to observe International Women's Day.
Think, for example, that there is an affirmative action bill before this Honourable House. This is not correct, as of today. Honourable Minister, if you please give me an ear, this is not correct, as of today. And we will ask and we will direct the committee responsible for gender to follow up and ensure that this bill touches this House in a matter of days because of the public comment as if it's Parliament that is not doing anything. But there's nothing before us, and we want this to really come before us and within days. It's worth saying, I direct that the Women Caucus of Parliament and the Gender Committee, no matter the rudimentary nature of whatever first came before the House before it was taken back, should take and start seriously analyzing, studying, and making proposals which should be what Parliament thinks of the process. After all, we can take joint control and ensure that there's an Affirmative Action Act. So please let us set this joint body rolling immediately, even before anything should touch this Honourable House, showing our own capacity to be proactive in issues of legislation that concern all of us. And we definitely want to make positive recommendations, because I've had the occasion to comment that What we had before was a list of suggestions and hopeful wishes rather than positive legislation that will be an instrument for social engineering. And these we must seriously consider.
Meanwhile, Deputy Majority Leader Sarah Adjoa-Safo has urged political parties and Ghanaians in general to encourage and support women who may want to contest upcoming primaries and district assembly elections.
Of our women still remain faint or virtually missing in our national discourse, despite constituting about 51% of Ghana's population. Ghana has won the vote and not the vote. As aptly stated by Mr. Kofi Annan, the former UN Secretary General at the World Education Forum in 2000, Mr. Speaker, he said, "No development strategy is better than the one that involves women as central players." We need to work harder to improve women's representation at all levels of governance in this country. Mr. Speaker, the current 37 women out of the 275 elected members of Parliament, representing 30% of the total membership of Parliament, is woefully inadequate and far below the internationally agreed target of at least 30%. The district assemblies and political parties play significant roles to develop the confidence, skills, and political acumen required to climb with ease their political ladder. Many of our members of Parliament, both past and present, have at one stage or the other held leadership positions in their respective political affiliations or have been members of assemblies. The leadership elections of the various political parties, which has already begun its earnest and impending district assembly elections, present an opportunity to elect more women and to prepare them for the national leadership positions.
So that is Deputy Majority Leader there, Sarah Adjoa-Safo. And speaking of the Affirmative Action Bill, you are a member of the Gender Committee. Yeah. Are you worried about the slow or the delay in the passage of the bill?
Yes, we are worried about the delay because we know if this bill is passed, it will enable us or encourage us or motivate us as women to stand tall, and then we know there is a backing that says women are entitled to this or women are not entitled to this. Yeah.
So what efforts are you making to, put pressure on government to again, bring this bill to the House and ensure its speedy passage?
Well, that's basically supposed to be done by the minister. Right. And then all we do is to put the pressure on our chairperson or chairman, and then he gives the pressure to the minister. And today when she appeared before Parliament, she made us aware that it's before Cabinet, and she's hoping that it will be brought before Parliament after the Easter celebration. All right, okay.
Well, stay with us here on Joy News Prime. I'm Arabo Kumsin, and my co-anchor today is the Member of Parliament for North Dai, Joycelyn Tete. Stay with us. We're taking a break, but business is up next with Aisha Ibrahim.
Time now for business. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. Let's begin with the Ghana Stock Exchange, which has lifted suspension of trading in ADB shares on the BERS. According to managers, it has now the required information to take this action. Stay tuned to our subsequent bulletins as we bring you some more analysis on this development. But let's do more on business because country manager for Brussels Air, Rita Macedo, is calling for more female mentors in the aviation industry to create a pool of many more women in the aviation industry. The country manager made the call as the airline welcomed an all-female crew at the Kotoka International Airport to commemorate celebrations of the International Women's Day today. Sheila Tamaklo was there.
To commemorate the International Women's Day, Brussels Airlines today operated an all-female crew from Brussels to Abidjan and Accra. This action by Brussels Airlines is a symbol to push for more equality in the aviation industry.
Rita Macedo is the country manager for Brussels Airlines. Now, you talk of pushing for gender equality. What exactly do you mean by that in this particular sector?
Means that women and men have the same rights, should be paid the same, should have the same opportunities, and which happens in Brussels Airlines since the beginning. But I think that we know that the world is still a very man world, and we are getting there to be equal. That's the only thing we want.
And what do you think we can do to, encourage more women into this sector?
Well, actually, 10% of our cockpit staff are women, which is very small, but it's the highest in the aviation industry. I think, especially cockpit staff, it's really a man's world. But things are changing, and you just need role models and people doing it, so the others know that they can also do. So it's a cultural thing that is disappearing.
This year's International Women's World Day is under the theme Press for Progress.
Now, a lot of women in Ghana and across the world today continue to endure wide disparities in salaries as compared with their male counterparts, even though they perform similar duties. As we celebrate International Women's Day, we want to focus on the gender pay gap problem and how it can be addressed locally. Chief Executive of Charterhouse, Theresa Ayode, believes that disclosing the salary structure at the workplace may help.
That still exists. And I believe that that's why platforms like this exist, to address some of these issues and to have the conversations so that we draw attention to these issues. I think that a woman should definitely be paid her worth, just as a man is paid her worth. And at the end of the day, it is about who is able to deliver the results. And once a woman is able to deliver the results, and sometimes they're even able to deliver higher results, then there should be no question about how to reward them. The rewards should be commensurate with the results.
For you, how do we get around this whole equal pay for everyone, irrespective of your sex? That there are people who would want to do that, and this is not even the retail. These are well-established companies. Recently, Barclays Bank UK came out to confess, and it was documented that apparently they even pay their investment bankers far, far more than their female investment bankers. How do we get around this issue?
I think that it starts first of all from transparency. If there's no transparency in how much a certain level, if it's C level, if it's B level, A level, executives, if there's no transparency on how much this level should be earning, then it gives room for this kind of disparity. But if there's a transparency in terms of at this level, this is the range, or this is the rate of income, then once you get to that level, it should, come to you. But if there's no transparency and it's based on an individual negotiation basis, then there's room for that kind of bias if it's not a law in the organization structure and all of that. So I think that now that a lot of conversations are being held about it, I think that a lot of companies are going to begin to adopt transparency, so that how much people are paid is open and it's clear to everybody. So you know how much is due you. Because at the moment what happens is that most of the negotiations are done on an individual basis. So you may not know, you may walk out thinking you've struck a good deal, but you may not know what the other person struck. So I think that if those things are harmonized a bit, it would help the situation. And then women should also ask for more.
Away from International Women's Day, the total amount of money that banks in Ghana fear might not be paid by borrowers has hit a little over 8 billion cedis. This revelation was contained in the latest Bank of Ghana report on developments in the banking sector. There is more in this report.
According to the Bank of Ghana, the stock of non-performing loans went up by almost 40% from 2016 2016 to 8.5 billion cedis in December 2017. The report showed the loans extending to the public sector constituted about 3.2% of the stock of non-performing loans, with the private sector taking up the 94.3%. This could mean that majority of the loans that are going bad went to the private firms instead of the public ones. However, some of these firms have told Joy Business that they took the loans to undertake government contracts and services. So if they have not been able to repay, it is because they have not been paid by government. The central bank in the report added that firms operating in the finance and commerce sector are the highest in terms of loans that will not be paid by one time, followed by the services and mining sectors. The challenge affected credit extension to the private businesses as it dropped significantly from the 2016 figure to 4%, meaning that most of the banks took steps to reduce rates of defaults.
Moving to the oil sector, the Chamber of Bulk Oil Distributors Ghana is advocating the provision of opportunities that will enable private sector players to establish new oil refineries in the downstream petroleum sector. Government has consistently declared its intention to make the country a hub for the oil and gas sector. In an interview with Joy Business, Chief Executive of the Chamber, Senor Jose, noted West African governments have not demonstrated enough commitment to managing such facilities.
We just probably creates rather a healthier sourcing point for BDCs. Because if refineries are producing here, then we as well buy from them bulk and get it done. But the refinery economics has to be sound. And I don't think that there's enough prudence in government putting a lot of money in there, looking at the sectors, but it should rather create a structure and an environment that will rather drive private capital into the refinery space. All right, we see government history with refinery, there's nothing worth being proud of. TOR is nothing to be proud of. From 1961 till now, TOR should actually have been a major in the entire region. You haven't seen that, and none of the West African refineries actually showed that. So there's a fundamental problem with government managing refineries. But government should rather create a structure that will rather let private capital come into it, and government resources rather pumped into more sustainable and impacting projects like agriculture and all. But it must facilitate. If it takes equity stake in it, is prudent. That's fine. All right, but it shouldn't be a full government-driven thing. No, it won't make sense.
Do we have the capacity as Ghanaian local BDCs to get into such ventures to help? As a
refinery, we are traders. We'll buy and trade anywhere in the world, so we don't mind. It's good. When you have local refineries, the risk you face is much less.
And that's it for the business segment. There is more on Joy News Prime with Araba Kumsin.
For the second time in less than 12 months, a court higher than a commission of inquiry has quashed portions of the Judgment Debt Commission's report. The Court of Appeal on Thursday ruled that the sole commissioner, Justice Yao Apau, now a Supreme Court judge, breached the rules of natural justice in making adverse findings against businessman Alfred Woyome without giving him a fair hearing. This included the finding that the 51.2 million cedis paid him was fraudulently acquired. Though the adverse findings of the commission are to be set aside by Thursday's ruling, the judge clarified that the substantive ruling by the Supreme Court for the refund of the monies stands. There is more in the following report.
Lawyers for the businessman in June 2016 headed to the court with a goal of setting aside 7 facts captured in the Commission of Inquiry into Judgment Debt report. These included the findings that there was no basis for the payment of 51.2 million cedis to Mr. Woyome, that the account of wife of the Chief State Attorney, Mrs. Nekwe Tete, ballooned by the sum of 400,000 cedis after the deal had been concluded. They insisted the sole commissioner breached the rules of natural justice when he did not offer the businessman an opportunity to appear before the commission. The state attorney who handled the case, Patience Lati, opposed the appeal. She argued the time for an appeal of a commission of inquiry decision had elapsed. The court held, however, that the appeal was in order. It said despite the commission allowing documents to be presented by Mr. Uyeme, it should have offered an appearance when it made adverse findings against him. It therefore set aside portions of the report against the businessman and further ordered that same be quashed in the government white paper subsequently issued. Presiding Judge Justice Victor Ofue, however, stressed that the decision of the court does not render the Supreme Court decision ordering retrieval of the money handed Mr. Uyeme invalid.
Now let's head back to Parliament because Speaker of Parliament Professor Michael Quay has brushed off claims of bias by the minority, saying he has been impartial. The minority on Wednesday went on a silent protest after its leader, Haruna Idrisu, was denied the opportunity to ask a Deputy Agric Minister follow-up questions. The matter came up on the floor of Parliament Thursday when once again the minority leader failed in his attempt to ask the Health Minister more questions. Shortly we will hear from the Speaker, but first we bring you a report cataloguing some of the incidents the minority is basing its claims of bias on.
In Parliament, where the governing party has an overwhelming majority, the minority hardly wins a debate. All it does is to have its say, but it appears the minority and the Speaker, Michael Quay, is not having enough of that. At least that's what they have articulated publicly, a situation which has resulted in a frosty relationship between the minority and the Speaker. The so-called disagreements between the Speaker and the minority may have started in July 2017.
It is important that the Speaker respects the front bench of the minority. Why do you want to couple us? You have to give us space to be able to put our views. Mr. Speaker, you cannot stifle the space for the minority leadership. Mr. Speaker, yesterday, the day before yesterday, there were questions that were supposed to be asked yesterday in this House. They were not on the other paper. You didn't give us the opportunity to raise them. Yesterday, we advertised. There were questions to be asked today again. They've not been put on the other paper. You are not giving us the opportunity to even air our views. Why?
Alhaji Muntaka is not the only one who is upset with the Speaker. His boss, the majority leader, Haruna Idrisu himself, has had cause to complain about the conduct of Professor Michael Quay.
Mr. Speaker, when I rose, you know the essence of parliamentary question is significant and integral to the exercise of oversight. Your refusal to allow me, even as minority leader, to proceed can only be an effort to stifle oversight.
In fact, on February 15, 2018, Haruna Idrisu almost sounded disrespectful to the third most powerful man in the country.
I stood up before the majority leader. You owe me that courtesy and that respect. You owe me that courtesy and that respect. Mr. Speaker, you cannot, even after hearing him, you were still not decided whether to hear me or not. All I'm voted to do here is to speak, and as minority leader, to speak to the rules. May I respectively, I'm not here to talk about quorum. May I draw your attention to Order 130 and why I was on my feet, and I'm within the rules. And Order 130 reads, if any member, Order 130, 130. Rules. Mr. Speaker, you owe me. I don't want to ever disrespect you, but if you invite me, I will. If you invite me, I will. Yes, I would. No.
These developments have caused the minority to raise questions about the impartiality of the Speaker. So is Speaker Michael Quay being too high-handed with the minority, or we simply have a recalcitrant minority in Parliament?
Well, as we indicated earlier, the Speaker denied he was sidelining the minority, explaining he was only going by the rules of the House.
But I want to seek your indulgence to get a clarification to Order 69. It's in relation to supplementary questions. Mr. Speaker, I can understand with leadership we can vary Order 69 to let this get through. But it becomes almost a norm that we cannot ask supplementary questions on constituency-specific questions. I just want to know from you if it's a new order, so that we all know that we can't do it, or so that we ignore Order 69.
Honorable,
if I can read it.
Honorable member, Order 69 does not exclude the decision of this House, which you know very well was the same policy procedure during the immediate past Parliament's term, and which was adopted by the House. And it applies across the board. It is most improper to come to the House when we've all agreed on matters of procedure and then give the impression that somebody is being discriminated against. That is not so. And anybody who was in the past Parliament will know that is what prevailed. And it was adopted. In fact, that's not how I started. But it was so adopted. All leaders in this honorable House know that which the Speaker is now saying is the decision of leadership.
So that was Speaker of Parliament, Professor Michael Quaye there, and Joyce Tete, she's MP for North Dai. She's still in the studio with me. As a member of the minority, how do you feel about the posture of the Speaker?
Sometimes it really discourages us. Sometimes what I feel is that if the minority leader is on his feet and he's been ignored, how much more me, a backbencher? So sometimes I feel like he's not representing as a father for all, but he's towing a political line that is really undermining the activities of the minority in Parliament.
But why do you think he's doing that, though?
Well, I can't tell the reason why he's doing that, but obviously he's been appointed by a political party. So definitely he's supposed to dance to the tune of that political party. That's
so you still insist that he's been biased?
He's been biased.
Well, we'll see how that plays. But what else do you have?
Politics is often described as a dirty game. The reason why many particularly staunch Christians refuse to venture into it. Second Deputy Speaker for Parliament, Alban Bagbin, is however urging Christians to do away with that misconception and take up political roles. Speaking at the first Bible and Governance Conference organized by the Parliamentary Christian Ministry and the Ministry of Religious and Chieftaincy Affairs, Mr. Bagbin said Christians with clean hearts and honest intentions should actively get involved, explaining that politics is not as dirty as it's made to appear.
Christians getting involved in active politics has become an important issue of discussion, as many as possible have very divergent views on the subject. But recent events have raised the question once again and asked why the church is not partnering the state and why Christians are avoiding politics. You know, so many people, as stated by the bishop, are questioning why clean hearts, honest beings, should get themselves beddled in partisan politics, what they usually refer to as a dirty game. Well, what I keep on saying is that it's not a game that is dirty, but it's the people that are playing the game that are dirty. And so when you get the cleaner people inside, definitely politics will become clean. And so for this reason alone, I think it's good for us Christians to get actively involved in politics. Clearly that the place for all of you to be is in politics. Politics does not necessarily mean partisan politics. Partisanship connotes division. But politics actually is about consensus building.
He said Christian leaders must also encourage their youth to participate in politics that is not partisan, but one which helps in consensus building.
This opportunity to urge all of you and to discount the views of the others who believe that Christians should not be in politics. Christians, we are, by the calling of our Lord Jesus Christ, compelled to actively be involved in politics. It should not stand in isolation. Politics cannot be devoid of Christianity. This is because the state is a divine institution of God. And for any human society, you need to be able to anchor the rule of law, the order of the society in basic Christian principles and values.
You're still watching Joy News Prime. Now, still ahead, the Vice Chairperson of Parliament's Select Committee on Gender is advocating that men who are assaulted by their spouses turn the other cheek instead of hitting back.
Slaps you on one cheek, like the Bible said, you turn the other cheek for her.
You don't want to miss that story. But entertainment is coming up next. Stay tuned.
We are, by the calling of
You're welcome back. Now, as the world celebrates International Women's Day, some rural female farmers in the central region have been sharing their frustrations with Joy News' Richard Kwejunyako. According to them, conditions under which they work put untold stress on them, making them die early instead of living to enjoy their labor. The women are calling on government to institute a pension fund for farmers to enable them retire honorably. They made these suggestions at a deba to mark the day at Asin Quarter in the central region.
At first, the Greek people would go to our farms and spray the farms for us free of charge. But for now, it is different. They cheat us even in the spraying. When the fertilizers come, they sell them. We need government to help us expand our farms. At first, it was easy for us to farm, but now it is really difficult for us. If there is no farming, there is no government. Government cheats us, and I will explain. They give teachers and other workers pension when they retire. We farmers here get nothing for the hard work we do for the country. We need government to do something about this. We also need our pension pay.
na wan tumu ye amiyanya bi ni ade ahwe ma isi amje me mienu nam kan yenya adwuma nye so ma wie scan school scam na me hwe ye kokko bag mienu na me ensan me nya kra no me ba me sika nso hwe ye.
In these times, things are very difficult for us. I have 2 children who are roaming in Accra. They don't have jobs to do. 2 others have also completed SHS. There is no money for them to continue. When we, the farmers, are not there, you two are not there. We are the ones that produce virtually everything. When we decide to strike, you will all be dead. If government does not help us in terms of our finances and everything, we will go on strike. All of us.
Our bank, Mamma Cassami. I buy one Wayania, was Casemu. Swatia, one Messica, Coco, one Wayne, and yes, can't find me a cocoa. One Messica, me a pan, me up your home. One me a quite one park, my Miss Sedem Chewan. May I appear your tree, Baburo. Nasa me beka kwa bese considering na ya me kwa ba hodin be niminya asase no enu ne be gu anu no enti wo mwa yen ne akua fa se be kwa srak.
The Vice Chairperson of the Parliamentary Select Committee on Gender, Abena Juwa Mensah, has admonished men to refrain from any action which seeks to retaliate a slap or physical assault by women. According to her, women are weaker vessels but quick-tempered, and for that matter, under no circumstance should a man beat a woman, even in retaliation. She is urging them to find amicable ways of resolving issues rather than getting physical. She spoke to Adom News, Alfred Amo, at a women empowerment program held at Asimfoso in the Central Region as part of the International Women's Day celebration.
The men too, please don't let your wives beat you, I beg you. If they hit you small, just pamper them or talk to them nicely. Someone will say that his wife slapped him, so he also retaliated with the same thing. It's not healthy. If the woman slaps you on one cheek, like the Bible said, you turn the other cheek for her. Or worse still, just report to some elders or the police, and then for matters to be settled. And then also, well, when it gets to the worst, you are also a human being. If you're a man, you're a human being, also have rights. So if it gets to the worst and you see that it's really getting out of hands, you can report the matter to the police for the police to help the DOFSU to help settle matters amicably for you. But domestic violence is a crime. I'm saying it here and now. That is a crime for any woman to go through violence in the hands of any man or in the hands of her fellow woman.
The Asin North Girl Child Education Coordinator, Emma Donko, also urged government to sanction heads of schools who dismiss female students for getting pregnant while in school. She described such actions as discriminatory because the men or boys who get them pregnant usually go unpunished.
The situation now is we don't have any documents covering girls who become pregnant in school. So the heads only use their discretions, either they should allow them to come back to school or not. Situations whereby the girl was being impregnated by a boy in the school, I think the two of them, if they are to go on suspension, the two of them must go. If it's about a year suspension, the two of them should go on that suspension and come back at the same time. If we let the girls go on suspension and we leave the boys to be in school, we are being discriminative. And so we have to punish them at the same time. They will come back at the same. We are going to forward this policy to GS headquarters. We had a workshop on it at the national level. And so we are here to solicit ideas of the teachers who are dealing with the girls in the classroom so that we could forward their inputs to the headquarters.
So let's stay on this issue a while longer because it's interesting. She says, turn the other cheek, like the Bible says. You're a member of the committee, gender committee, and you're her colleague. Yes. Do you agree with what she's saying?
Well, in as much as it's very difficult for a man to just turn his other cheek if he is slapped, I think it's better that way to prevent the man getting into trouble. And as she said, women are very weak, and then the man is stronger. Everybody knows physically men are stronger. Yes. The man might end up killing the woman or hurting her over or beyond what can be resolved. So if a woman slaps a man, maybe you should just exercise patience and report to the police or something.
Okay, that's more realistic. Reporting rather than turning the other cheek. Okay, let's move on. And sad news now, but a 54-year-old man has died in what is suspected to be suicide at Alajo. The death is being linked to an arrangement involving the minibus of a police officer that went wrong. Some friends of the deceased, a trotro driver, say he had handed over his master's vehicle to another colleague, which vehicle went missing. Though the vehicle was found after 2 weeks, persons close to the family explain he may have decided to kill himself because of the fallouts of the arrangement. Let's hear from some of them.
The issue is that the man who has committed suicide is a trotro driver who is driving one policeman's car. The trotro is for a policeman. So the man gave the car to a spare driver. And unfortunately, the spare driver did not bring the car for 7 days. The policeman too was looking for the car, same as the man who is in custody was looking for the car. So after the 7 days, the man found the car, which the car has been parked right back here at the scene. The wife, the man's wife, the man who has committed suicide wife, saw the man, called one of her elder pastor's wife. So he went with her pastor's wife, which the man who has committed suicide's wife went to her pastor's wife to go and plead the policeman that the car has come. The policeman said they should fill the fuel in the tank. They should fill the fuel in the tank so that the man will work with the car and pay back for the 7 days he has lost the car or he has not found the car, because the car lost for 7 days, the car came back, there was no sales. So the wife went to plead to the policeman. The policeman understood that they should fill the tank full, and the same man who has committed suicide with the car should work and pay a little by little so that he can gain and the policeman too can gain for his car and other things. But the wife went to plead to the policeman. The time the wife will come back at home at dawn around 5:40 something to around 4:30 that way. When the woman came back, start sweeping her normal daily activities, sweeping her house, she went to the back of her kitchen and found out that her husband has hanged himself. That's her husband has committed suicide.
So I'm a driver. I'm a trotro driver. I'm a trotro driver from Alajo to CMB. So I'm a master. I'm also a trotro driver. This one, if you buy rough 30 to 6, somebody come and call me, come and see your master. I don't believe it. So when I pissed and when I come, me too, I caught up FM to discuss with him. Somebody has done something this year, and when they come and say meeting, I started to call police because I don't understand. Because yesterday I saw him, he didn't tell me anything.
Talk to him yesterday?
Yes.
What did you talk about?
Trying to say you want to go some place and give the car to the spare driver. As now the spare driver didn't bring the car, so you go and check whether you see the car or not see. That's why me and him go and bed the street.
Imagine finding out after the deal is done that money you sent to an unknown caller in response to a distress call supposedly to deal with health or other emergency of a relative is a scam. That is one of the tricks in a new wave of mobile money fraud perpetrated by unscrupulous persons against unsuspecting members of the public. Joy News' Mahmoud Mohammed Naruddin reports many people are falling victim to scammers who are making a fortune out such nefarious activities. And package stories and via
the fraudsters call their adult targets on phone to inform them their child has been taken ill in school and rushed to the hospital. They would demand for money in some instances in thousands of cedis via mobile money, supposedly for emergency care. Rahina Al-Hassan is in her late 30s. Her son, Kingsford, is first-year student of Al-Azhariya Islamic Senior High School at Old Tafu in Kumasi. An unknown caller preyed on mother and son, compelling the woman to part with 1,200 Ghana cedis, which is gone with the wind.
I was in Abofo when my brother had a distress call that Kingsford Asari has been admitted at the hospital, and doctor said he needed oxygen, so my brother should send 600 cedis for medical treatment. After sending the money, he called later that Kingsford needed blood, so my brother told them he was coming to the hospital, but the unknown caller said it will delay, so he should send additional 600 cedis for the blood transfusion. Later, I called my in-law for her to check whether Asari was in school. It was confirmed he was in school.
So that is the situation here. A number of parents have been defrauded. Some have had to come to the school to check on their children. Rashida Osman's parents were almost swindled of 1,000 Ghana cedis to cater for her medical bills after a never-happened accident.
They call my mom that I have get an accident, so they should send them money. That is 10 million. That they have sent me to hospital, so my mother should send that money so that they should go and pay for the bills. Yes. So my mom called me and asked me that is it true that I have get an accident? I said no.
The teachers at Al-Azharia Islamic Senior High School are amazed at how students continue to be targets.
On one occasion, a parent called me that the ward name is Mustabshira from one student. According to the parents, that they've rushed the girl to the Confirmatory Teaching Hospital, and out of that time, they asked the parent to send them 700 Ghana cedis before doctors will attend to the girl.
Mr. Mohammed himself is not spared.
Myself, my wife also received a call from an unknown person like that the ward has been sent to a hospital. So she asked, which hospital, which of my ward? I have so many children, and they couldn't say anything.
I was here, I saw some two guys going class by class. So I called them and asked them what is happening, what do they want? They said they were called at home, at workplace, that their brother is vomiting blood and he has been taken to hospital. So they should send 500 Ghana cedis. But they said they want to come and confirm before they will send the money.
Director of the school, Sheikh Mohammed Kamil Mohammed, recounts he confronted one of the swindlers on phone.
He said, Ebenezer at where? Say, why are you asking me too much questions like that? I said, please, you are the one who picked somebody from a certain place to the hospital. And I want to know the place so that I will follow and see the condition of the girl. Really, don't bother me. Then he cut the phone.
It appears the scam is more prevalent in some regions of the country than others. On social media, some Ghanaians have started raising red flags, alerting relatives and friends on what can befall them if they fail to watch before they leave. Mahmoud Mohammed Nuruddin reporting.
On News Prime with me, Arba Kumsen, and MP for North Dai, Joycelyn Tete. And our headlines at the top of the hour. Speaker of Parliament directs Gender Committee to expedite work towards passage of Affirmative Action Bill as hundreds of women march in the Northern Regional Capital to demand action on the bill. We also brought you the story of a 38-year-old mother who is having to juggle work and family as rights body Amnesty International advocates extension of maternity leave to 6 months. Also, Court of Appeal quashes adverse findings made by Judgment Debt Commission against businessman Alfred Woyeme, the second such ruling in his favor in less than 12 months. On the ongoing rift between the Speaker of Parliament and the minority side, Professor Michael Quay insists He's simply going by the rules in denying leader of the opposition a chance to ask follow-up questions. In business, Ghana Stock Exchange lifts suspension of trading in ADB shares even as more details emerge about the transaction and what the central bank knew about it. And Christians are being urged not to shy away from politics because it's not as bad as it's being made to seem. So that's how we wrap up the news here on Joy News Prime. I'm Araba Kumsin, and I've been doing this with
Joyce Lintete, the Member of Parliament for North Dai constituency.
And how has it been?
Wonderful.
Do you want to change your job?
No.
All right, thank you from me and the rest of the team. Have a good night.